Good evening, everyone, and we are back. Today, I can just say that every impactful speaker you remember had one thing in common. They said something you hadn't heard before. So, hot takes also, it is somewhat in the same way. They help you move from repeating ideas to owning ideas. Memorability is created when courage meets clarity. This is what Frida is going to delve into. She is with us with a topic: people don't resist change, they resist loss. So, we are really eagerly waiting to get to know more about this topic. Over to you, Frida.
Thank you for the introduction, Radhika. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to have you all here today for this hot take panel with me. I believe people don't resist change, they resist what they fear losing because of it. And until we understand that, most change conversations will continue to fail even with the best intentions in mind. Now, here's why this distinction really matters. This shows up everywhere in corporate teams, leadership decisions, new systems, restructures, even learning initiatives. What usually happens is when people hesitate, leaders push harder, trainers explain more, managers label it as resistance. But what I see again and again is not proof of unwillingness, it's fear. Fear of losing competence. For example, will I still be good at my job? Or fear of losing relevance. Will my role matter as much like before? And maybe fear of losing control or identity. For example, I didn't choose this, or this is not how I've always worked. So, according to me, resistance isn't defiance, it's self protection, or better said, self preservation. And once you see resistance the way I see it, three things will become clear. First thing is most change doesn't threaten tasks. It threatens identity. Uncertainty is processed as danger. In fact, change often triggers our amygdala, the brain's threat detection system. When someone has built years of expertise, a new process can make them feel like a beginner again. And adults don't resist learning, they resist feeling incompetent. So, in fact, this is explained beautifully in William Bridges' transition model, where he makes a critical distinction that change is situational and transition to that change is psychological. So, which brings me to the second part, which leaders often underestimate. Change is explained logically, but processed emotionally. So, when leaders respond only with data, timelines, or urgency, they miss the real conversation. In fact, emotions ignored in this condition, they don't disappear. They leak out as resistance in the form of defensive behavior, emotional withdrawal, passive resistance, or even over attachment to the old process. Resistance, in fact, is often a biological survival response, not stubbornness, mind you. And this leads to my final point, which is a third point, that it is where leadership really shows up. The way leaders respond to resistance determines whether change slows down or moves forward. Like pressure creates pushback, and understanding it creates movement. So let me ground this with something I've seen professionally play out. I've seen this with teams resisting new tools and softwares, not because they couldn't learn it, but because they feared losing the value that they were known for as seniors, as people who've been in that organization far too long. So once leaders acknowledge that fear, by saying something like, you're not starting from zero, adoption automatically follows for that new system. For example, employees say, this won't work. It often means, I'm afraid I'll fail. Okay, that's the psychological side of it. So, a bad approach to begin with would be to, by a leader, would be to say, here's what you will gain. Instead, the effective approach would be to say, I know this may feel like you're losing something important. Let's talk about that first. So, if you understand here, the resistance wasn't to change, it was to loss, right? Now, if this perspective of mine makes sense to you, the real question becomes, what do we do differently here? And if you agree with me, here are three simple shifts you can start with immediately. Number one, instead of asking why are they resisting, you ask them what you rather ask yourself, what might they fear losing? Number two, you acknowledge emotion before explaining logic. And number three, slow down emotional conversations to speed up results. When people feel safe, change becomes possible. And I now know this is where opinions differ. So I'm open to your pushback.
Very well said, Frida. So, yes, we are currently resisting the change. So, the floor is open, people. Do we have any questions for Frida?
Hello, Frida.
Hi.
I really like the way you actually related the change with psychology. So, I just have a question here, and I really like the crisp way in which you have transferred the things to us. So, I just have one question here. That what is it the people fear more? Is it a fear of tangible things, or is it a fear of psychological loss? What do you think is the biggest fear?
I think it's psychological loss, to be honest,
Right.
firstly, before tangible, because the initial thing before acceptance is you already created a perception that, oh, this is what's going to happen. So when something's going to change, or when something new is brought up across to a team or to a set of people, the first thing that that hits the person is psychological. It affects the person. So that is where the explanation, you need to explain right as to why
Right.
that change has been brought up.
Perfect. Perfect. So now suppose you are a leader and suddenly there is one of your team members who's not seeing a long term gain. He or she is just focusing on the short term loss that change would bring about. How would you convince that person?
So, see, firstly, you need to understand from the person's perspective here. If you've suggested that they do something in terms, for them to do a particular task, and you've told them that you're going to do something for them, you have to also be available to get it. Like, once the person's done something for you, you do it again. You also build that confidence in the person. So it has to be two-way,
Okay.
at least as being a leader.
But do you think it becomes very difficult to convince them when they see the short term loss, which
Uh,
is immediately inside?
so the thing is, see, that comes naturally, right? What we see, short-term loss comes in very naturally. So you need to first tackle the emotion at point, you by
Right.
asking them open-ended questions as to what is bothering them, what part of the entire short-term thing is bothering them, and you tackle it one by one, step by step at a time. You start emotionally and then build up on how it's going to. Of course, when you're doing that, you have to give them positives. As to when you're acknowledging the concern, you're also giving them something where they can depend on, something to support, to help them move forward
Right.
in
So
the
basically,
direction.
their confidence,
Yeah,
basically.
in the direction that you want them to move forward, basically.
So, I'll just ask you one question. There is a saying that change is only permanent.
Well, that's
And
yeah.
and our topic is exactly opposite to it. How do you explain this? Change is only permanent, and still we are resisting a thing which is only permanent, which is the only permanent thing around.
So, in fact, that's a very nice question, very contradictory or ironical.
Right. Right.
In fact, I think change is constant. Yes, it's not permanent. It's constant. Is what?
Constant,
Yeah,
right.
it's constant because on a very day-to-day basis, everything is constantly changing. But that also change is a part to progress because every time there is this constant change happening there on a daily basis, be it personally, professionally. There's a lot of improvement also happening. If it's tackled well, if certain concerns are tackled well, then there is only progress that you see because changes not necessarily always move towards progress, but if they're tackled well, for sure they are. So change may be constant, but it is also required towards a certain direction.
Wonderful. That was a wonderful answer, and thank you for correcting my permanent to constant. Thanks for that. And it was lovely. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks, Dipali.
Uh,
Thank you.
Frida, a burning question actually, a bit controversial also. So, when we go for our training, or when, what do you call, not we go per se, I usually get this from other trainers and, in our meetings or whatever. So, when we especially have to train senior management,
Hmm.
okay, change is resisted and
Absolutely.
it is not liked. And it is not that they are scared to grow, it is not that they don't have the knowledge. So, why is it like that, and how can this be curbed?
So the way I see it, Radhika, when it comes to senior management, they've been doing a certain thing a certain way for a very long time. And when you're trying to give them something to go by, which is obviously requires change there, there is resistance because first that I know it all and I've been doing this for quite some time. And of course, I am at a very higher position. So there are a lot of these, um, say, you know, concerns or barricades or hurdles that are there in between. Of course, when you're dealing with senior management, it's a different ball game altogether. There's a different approach to it, in fact. And like basis each group of or set of employees that you're talking to or you're interacting with in trainings, your approach also needs to change. At least that's how I see it, because resistance is always there when it is in fact much more stronger when it is a much set of senior people. I mean, it works even in your personal day-to-day life. You can't handle the way you handle kids, you can't handle your parents. So yeah.
So rightly said. It's altogether another ball game when you need to handle the parents.
Yeah.
Because the first answer we get is yes, like our senior management. Yeah, we do know that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not saying per se that every senior management is like that, but
True.
I mean, we do have some areas where we face this. So, very nicely explained, and thank you so much. Very
Thank you.
insightful. Thank you, Dipali, for the wonderful questions. Both it made us go deeper into the subject. And yes, thank you everyone for being a part of this discussion. Thank you, wonderful audience. We'll be back with another trainer and another topic. Bye bye.
Bye bye.